everyone, I'm Wendall Jones, and welcome to this edition of the program, Jones and Company. On this program, we look at the national issues of the Bahamas, and we invite you to join in the discussion as you watch us and listen to us. And this past week, we have had a whole lot of comments about what the Bahamas is doing for Dominica. Indeed, we sympathize and empathize with our brothers and sisters in the Eastern Caribbean who have been affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And our Prime Minister has announced certain initiatives on the part of the government of the Bahamas to help the people of Dominica in particular. And we all as Bahamians are giving our support to the people who have been affected by those hurricanes. And on our program today, we are going to be speaking with the High Commissioner of the Bahamas to CARICOM, Mr. Ruben Rahming, who is also the newly elected Member of Parliament for Pinewood. This is his first time on our program, Jones and Company, and it's our delight to have him here today. Mr. Rahming, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. I feel welcome. It's an honor, sir.
Thank you so very much. And congratulations to you for your election to Parliament. We didn't speak prior to your election, so I guess that was a good thing.
It probably may have been, it probably may have been. You might have eviscerated me before I had a chance,
no.
But I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for your statesmanship. I'm grateful for your courage. I think you're an example of fortitude in business. If people really look objectively, besides nobody being perfect, people need to learn the art of how to adapt, improvise, overcome. And I'm pleased to be here in your new facilities, and I'm honored to be in your presence.
Good, thank you so very much. And double congratulations to you too, because you've been appointed High Commissioner to CARICOM, and that area is really going through some difficult times now, the entire Caribbean, well, especially the Eastern Caribbean.
Yes, most definitely. It seems as if the side effects of climate change is really challenging us in particular. It seems as if they're climate change is trying to cut its teeth on the Caribbean nations. And everything that we do, we got to try to find a plus in it. And I would hope that big brothers may be more quickly sympathetic when they see the impact on little brother. Yeah. Sometimes, as you would see as in any experiment, when you are trying to challenge diseases and programs, you get a small sampling, or you, lack of a better term, find a guinea pig. That is a proof of concept of the overall thing. And in the heel of the current U.S. president, with his removing of the U.S. from the climate change accord and his disposition towards it, I hope through our pain it becomes a proof of concept or validity of the reality of climate change. And I hope our big brothers realize that if unchecked, though we may be, God forbid, catastrophically damaged if this is not reversed, they're next. And so I think that I pray that the good of this be the fact that when you saw Minister Darren Henfield, who just addressed the UN, that it brings home. I look for the good in everything, though I wish this kind of damage on nobody. But we have been hit severely, and so has the U.S. Yes. And I hope this caused a shift in thinking, especially in the leadership of the United States. We do know some of the other states has rejected that and from their independent stance, but yet Washington has made a declaration. So let's pray that some good come out of this, because we have to arrest this change. It's sad, though, that whatever adjustment we do make in climate change, we may not see within me or your generation, but we can't be worried about what we have to suffer. We must make decisions now so that we can halt these things for the next generation.
Absolutely, we have to mitigate these these monster hurricanes coming through our region.
Off the scale.
Yeah. Before we continue into that, I believe that a whole lot of people would want to know who Ruben Rahming is. I know a whole lot of people voted for you, but we have a big audience here. You're a Fox Hill man, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a Fox Hill man, a very simplistic person, very comfortable in my skin and very loving towards people. I'm very proud of my roots. I would never forsake where I come from, so I tell people don't even ask. I'm committed to what I do, but I never forget where I come from. I have tremendous experience with my work throughout my Commonwealth. I've always been a quiet activist. I don't like people picking on me because I know how I go.
Okay.
Well over 20 years of my life, remember George Mackey, of course you do.
Of course.
So I was a very young man. I served with George Mackey. A lot of people don't even realize that's how far back this urban renewal, community relation thing was going on. And I served with George Mackey from then, and it took about 25 years, but 20 years of my life. I think I would be, if they look at it, maybe the longest serving person under that regime. Served in northeastern communities, so I've done work all through Camp Road, all across, throughout the other family islands. God tends to drop me where a problem is. And I thank him for the gift of being able to bring people together, look beyond people's faults, find the common needs. It's just like what God did for me. I'm proud of my heritage and my linkage. I've lived in Ridgeland Park, I've lived in Lion Road, lived in Johnson Road, St. Augustine's and Fox Hill. And so I've been around quite a bit of places.
Okay. You went to SAC?
No, I don't. Well, they
You
get
said
mad, right?
so you live on the road to SAC?
You see, I got to speak truth. I ain't too hard up with SAC. I get a little rivalry with SAC. I'm a pacer.
I see.
And we got about eight of them Iron Belly people in the house now.
Okay.
So where that school shouldn't get some good treatment during this term. But I also I married into SAC, so I'm a victim of it. We lived to the bottom of SAC Hill for years, interacted with them. I learned a lot of my skills interacting with the monks. In St. Augustine School, knew every track road, everything else in the back there. So I'm closely affiliated with SAC. I think what sort of got me with SAC, because I'm always I believe in the underdog. SAC has always been the big red machine, beating up everybody, winning everything.
Right.
So I abandoned Orange Bailey just briefly enough to celebrate with QC when they put it on SAC, okay?
I see.
And so you can imagine a friendly rivalry I have. My daughter went to SAC. My wife is a SACer.
Okay.
So, we have wonderful conversations at home.
And you live right down the street.
And my roots is now right at the bottom of SAC Hill.
Yeah.
And that's where Fox Hill really originated. Samuel Fox, originally was the concept of Fox Hill actually came in named after Samuel Fox, right up on the hill there.
Okay. Pinewood, how did you get to Pinewood? I mean, why Pinewood?
I believe in following my divine current. It has worked for me so far in my life, and so I'm going to stick with it. GPS and everything is good, but that old fisherman, he could tell when the tide is turning. He could find his way home no matter what, because he's learned to follow the moves and the edge and the flow. And some people call it mother's wit, some people call it discernment. I just follow my divine compass. During the elections, there were, and I say I've worked throughout the New Providence in particular, and even some of the family islands. There actually was about 5 constituencies that was interested in myself, Fox Hill notwithstanding. I don't do necessarily what I think I could do. I try to be where I should be. I get cautious about things that you can do. I want to be where I believe God wants me to be. And so I didn't necessarily lock myself in. I said, Lord, where you want me to go, that's fine. People say, oh, Fox Hill is a shoe, and this is a shoe, and Seabreeze is a shoe, and over here. Then they say, oh, Pinewood? No. And I sat there, and I had peace with it. And my approach to election was very, very simple. I'm going to go in, I'm going to be very honest, I'm going to be straightforward. I'm not going to let anyone define what I call victory. Victory for me is not defined by whether I win or lose. Victory is defined by me doing my place and time at the right time. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they was in the fire, I think we miss it. And he said that our God is able. But if he didn't, I'm still cool with it. Simply because they understood one thing. We were supposed to be in this fire. So if he take me out, I cool. And if he don't, I still will prove my point. My point is to, and in my stand in politics, is to demonstrate to people that you can't have sincerity in politics. You can't have a higher level of statesmanship in politics. And that's why I mentioned, in my own peculiar way, our Governor General. No one is more polarized politically than her. She's more PLP than you, Lyndon Pillin, because she is the quintessence. But her in that role, from what I've felt and seen and been around her, all I see is the quintessence of we. And I've seen her demonstrate it. I don't know if it's a diminishment to her role to classify this, but I see her as a mother. She will spank her children left, all right, I love her too, y'all, but this is where she stands. I was so impressed by how she handled what some Bahamians would have called a possible constitutional crisis when the then opposition leader, Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis, was removed, well, kicked out, he says it, kicked out. And I watched how traditionally she handled it. Here you have somebody, you know, some people judge you by your past and don't look like at your totality because of wine that you enjoy today went through its bitter phase, a sweet phase, till it becomes a connoisseur. Our Governor General is a connoisseur, and I watched how she did that. And again, from the backdrop, let's use a negative backdrop politically. From a backdrop as the quintessence of PLP, she did not leap at that. She looked at that. She was judicious. She did not delay, but she did not rush. She put a thought in, and she handled that with such stability that despite the chaos that was going around, I was so proud of how she actually handled that. And I think that she should and would go down in history as one of the most effective people. That speaks back to where I'm at in Pinewood. Listen, I don't beat everybody. And it's not because the people chose me. That's finished. Let's run this country now.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to acknowledge who is greater than me because I understand in leadership it's not about who is the smartest. Leadership, I think the best leader is one who can just recognize who is the smartest and then position them to best help the mission be achieved. And so we in Pinewood, when we came in there, I found peace. And in my moving around, I looked with open eyes, and I found out that the persons that we would look at and hang our heads towards were so rich in potential. And I realized that persons who you say you couldn't speak to, when you spoke to them with clarity, honesty, and strength, they flinched. So I said, good, that's one bad boy who can be rehabilitated. Because at the end of the day, people want somebody who's just simply sincerely interested in helping them find their dreams.
Well, talking about that, Mr. Rahming, there were a whole lot of people who were frustrated, very angry, and there was some hopelessness just before the last general elections. And I guess people wanted a change, and they want some hope. They want people or someone to take them out of the frustrations that they're in. Do you see people feeling that there is some hope now for the future?
Sir, that is such a double-edged sword that I hope all of my colleagues and everyone who are presently in government now be very cautious of. When people are to the state in which you so clearly and correctly define, and I'll summarize it as a state of desperation, concern, you must realize that you need to be cautious. And the only way to avoid backlash is truth. Because when you win on a slate of desperation, you must realize that that also has a vicious backlash. Because disappointment is expectations not fulfilled. And politicians tend to overkill. They realize that, oh, I don't like Wendall Jones because he have a blue tie. So now they're going to take blue tie and villainize blue tie till later on when they wear the red, blue, and pink, then they end up in a blue tie. We need to be judicious and we need to be even-handed. And as for me, and even my bid in Pinewood, I was not concerned in a character assassination. I could clearly remember the one time I did say something that was pretty strong, because I remember it because it convicted me. You understand? And I quickly realized that was reminded from that conviction, my fight wasn't against Kalish Roll, my fight wasn't against Lincoln Bean, wasn't against Lanisha Hart, wasn't against Glenn Roll or the other candidate. My fight was very simple.
We had many candidates there.
Yes, this is Ruben, this is who I am, you choose. And so the fight was really in bridging the gap between my mind and the people's mind. And I'm glad of that because, again, the danger is when you take advantage of somebody in a desperate state and you think you win, the expectation is so high that you don't realize you created a monster.
I was going to talk to you about expectation, and this is a good place for us to take a break. And when we return, we're going to talk about the expectations of the people, indeed the aspirations of the Bahamian people, as politicians like yourself seek to bring some comfort, some aid to these people who want to be upwardly mobile. Let's take this break here. This is Jones and Company, and our guest on the program today is the High Commissioner of the Bahamas to CARICOM, the MP for Pinewood, Mr. Ruben Rahming. We'll come right back.